everybody. Greetings and blessings. It's VBS week, so I'm particularly Jesus-y today. We are pulling back the curtain on private aviation. Whether you're a buyer or an aspiring broker, we're helping you buy and sell private jets without wasting time or losing money. And today we're specifically talking about buyers. These are questions that if you're a buyer, you're going to want to think about to help you understand the buying process a little bit better and to make you a more effective an efficient buyer. And if you're an aspiring broker or a jet broker, these are questions that you're going to want to have in your back pocket to help you qualify your buyers. And when I say qualify, I don't necessarily mean whether or not this person's real or not, because everybody is a real buyer. Okay. And it's up to you as a broker to understand where they're at in the buying journey and help them to get from where they're at to where they want to be living that jet life. But if this is your first time joining us, my name is Tom Lelio. Welcome to I'm your ultimate jet guide, and I'm really excited, to be delivering content to you to help you buy and sell private jets without wasting time or losing money, and with no experience necessary. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click the like button, click the subscribe button, and let's get into it today. So if we're gonna be looking at working with buyers, there's a few things that we must have. And this is really important because, a lot of people will come to me and they already have this notion of, Tom, this person doesn't want to do business with me. Whether that's Tom, they won't sign a listing agreement, or Tom, they won't sign an acquisition agreement, or Tom, they won't make an offer, or Tom, they won't accept the offer. Well, we need to understand that these are the criteria. These are the things that we need to have in order for us to make sure that we have an opportunity to have a deal. Okay. Number one, you must have the decision maker. If the person that you're talking to is not the decision maker, doesn't matter if you are the best closer in the world, you can't have a transaction. You can't have a successful deal. You can't have a sale. So you have to make sure that you have the decision maker. We're going to show you ways to ask if that person really is the decision maker. Number two, you have to have the wherewithal. People have to have the money. And so we're going to be talking about asking those hard questions to qualify. Do they actually have money? Are they in a position to make a decision because they have the wherewithal? Number three, everyone must be sold on the product or the service. So, you have to qualify them to say, is this the right jet for you? Or have you considered this jet or this jet? Don't be afraid to put other options in front of buyers, because what that's doing is actually qualifying them to make sure that this is a good decision for them and that they should be taking the next steps. Next, they have to have confidence in the product, which is very similar to getting them sold on it. They have to have a belief in you, that you are the person that can help them be the guide towards this purchase. Next, you need a written offer. People don't believe what they hear. They believe what they see. And so we want to make sure that when we're making deals, it's in writing. Whether that's an email, whether that's an LOI, especially when you're working with buyers, or someone's like, yeah, just ask him if he'll take. Stop. I'd be happy to put an offer in front of them. But before we do that, I just need you to put an offer in writing so that we're all on the same page. Not that I don't believe in you or anything like that, sir. It's just that I need to make sure that we're all on the same page. And so let's put your deal in writing so we can all know exactly what's going on. And last but not least, urgency. If there's no urgency to the deal, then why should they do the deal? And this is the biggest question that you need to be asking yourself throughout the entire process. Why should somebody be doing this deal? And if you don't have a good answer for that, if you don't have the answers, like, why should they be doing the deal? Well, number one, they're the decision maker. And number two, they have the wherewithal. Number three, they love the product. Number four, they believe in me. Number five, they're putting a written offer. And number six, there's an urgency. That's why they should do the deal right now. Now we can have a transaction. So once you get those things done, now we can start talking about putting a deal together. Now, I'm going to be talking about, what do you do when someone calls you on a listing that you have, or maybe you have an off-market aircraft and you're talking with a buyer. A lot of people will come to me and say, Tom, I've got a buyer, and I'll ask them these basic questions and they don't know. And that tells me that the buyer's either not real or the broker hasn't done a full job in vetting them, in vetting the buyer, and making sure that the buyer is qualified. So there's going to be two different approaches. You can blend them. You can use one or the other. It's up to you. The first is going to be a 10X approach, kind of a Grant Cardone kind of approach. And we're going to look at this from the greeting. As soon as they call you, hey, this is Bob. Hey, Bob, Tom with Jet Life Aero. Good morning. Hey, yeah, no more. Good morning, Tom. I'm looking for more information on 501c or Victor. Happy to help you, Bob. No problem. What can I get you information on? And then they're probably asking for the price, They might ask for a brief history, whatever it is. Take note of it. Make sure that you answer their questions. And the next thing I'll ask them is, hey, just out of curiosity, is this for a client or is this for yourself? And what I'm doing there is I'm asking, like, are you a broker? Right? Because I'm going to handle it a little bit differently if they're a broker or if they're an end user. Also, I need to know who is the decision maker. Next, just out of curiosity, where'd you hear about the listing? Always good to know if people are finding this through word of mouth, if they're finding it on Controller versus Trade Plane versus AppBuyer versus Global versus Aircraft Marketplace, all that kind of thing. They're probably going to ask what the asking price is. So you're going to say, hey, the asking price is, $1 million. The aircraft is currently located in XYZ. If the aircraft has been moving, all right. Then I flip the script. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to go from my greeting and answering the questions and let them know I'm going to get them the information they want. Tell me about the buyer if it's for a broker, or hey, what brings you into the Citation 501 market? Try to get some information. Now this is going to be important. I'm really going to hone in on this fact finding piece because it's in and through the fact finding that I can actually make an appropriate demonstration to them. And then I can have a more effective close. So with the fact finding, I want to know, other than yourself, who else is going to be involved in making the decision? And 9 times out of the 10, they're going to say, I'm the only person. It's just me. Great. I'm with you. No problem. Who else on your team might be involved in the decision? Or you could ask them, that's awesome. I'm with you, entrepreneur. Most people I talk to, they're the main decision maker. Do you have anybody else on your team, a pilot, a mechanic, an insurance agent, that kind of thing? And not only does that give you an idea of the other players in the picture. I actually just had a broker today who was talking to a buyer, and he just said, Tom, I got bit because last week I was working with this buyer all week. And then at the end of the week, it turns out he was actually working with another broker on another aircraft. And he just never asked the question, are you working with anybody else? So, who else is on your team? Do you have a broker, pilot, mechanic? And if they don't, well, this might be an opportunity for you to provide value to them. If they don't have a pilot or a mechanic, or they don't have an insurance company or a lender that they're working with, and they need a lender, it's a great opportunity for you to provide value. So you got to ask those questions. When you're representing an aircraft, you're not just an order taker. You're not someone who just, what do you want to know? Boom, 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 boom. Here's what you want to know. It's a great plane, nicest one on the planet, just like every other one. And then you send them on their merry way. No, you got to ask questions and kind of dig a little bit. So who else on your team? How long have you been in the market for a 501? Why did you decide to call now? Why today? What's the impetus? Did you see the price reduction? Maybe. Why haven't you bought one yet? Did you put any offers in? Now, this is not a laundry list of questions to just ask bing, 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 one after the other. These are a pool of questions that become part of your conversation and your vocabulary as you train, which you should be doing, or as you continue to have these conversations, they become more and more natural. Is this going to be a cash or finance deal? We're asking, do they have the wherewithal? If finance, have you spoken with a lender yet? Because sometimes they say they want to do financing and it's their regular banker. And he's like, yeah, my banker, we love each other. Bob comes over for Thanksgiving, yada, yada, yada. And then you're like, hey, by the way, Bob, like, did you tell him you're buying an airplane? Yes. Did you tell him you're buying an old airplane? Well, did you tell him it's not on engine programs? Did you tell him it's older than 20 years old? Because sometimes the banks, they have a problem. No, don't worry. Okay, this is just something for you to remember in the back of your mind. We may have trouble with financing if the lender is not really aware of what this guy is looking at. When you send them information, you're going to ask them for their lender information so you could forward the information as well, and just not get caught later on. Let's find out a little bit more about their history. What are you currently flying in? How are you traveling? What do you want to change about your current situation? How much are you currently spending on travel? Have you ever flown private before? This is probably the first question you should ask them. Have you ever flown private before, especially if this is their first purchase? And if they haven't, I usually recommend that they check out chartering a plane first before they just jump in and buying a jet, because buying the jet is the cheaper part. These are my 4 questions you really want to know. How far? How many people? How big of a cabin do you need? And how many stops do you mind making? How far are you going? How many people? How big of a cabin? How many stops? Yep. How much time or money would it help you save if you bought the jet? This is a valid question. I think it's a great question to ask. I need to ask this more, just out of curiosity, like, buying this jet, how much time or money do you think you're going to save by buying this jet? And again, it's about the tone. Okay, by now you've asked them a few questions, so hopefully you've developed a little bit of a relationship. You're like, hey, Bob, I ask everybody this question, and it's really interesting what people come up with, and it just gives me a little bit of insight. Just out of curiosity, how much time, energy, or money do you think you're going to save by buying the jet? In all sincerity, like I truly mean this, because I truly believe in this. what do you think you're going to save on this jet? And just let them talk. It's really a fascinating question if you deliver it right. Otherwise, it comes across as sarcastic, and that's not what you're trying to do. All right. After you get some fact finding questions, now we're going to ask for too much or too little. Hey, have you considered a newer model? Maybe a CJ. Have you considered something smaller? Maybe, I don't know, a Mustang. And just ask. See what they think. They might not even know. And if they say they've looked at it and know this is the one, that's great. They know what they're talking about. They're more qualified. They're further down the funnel than somebody else who might not. Well, I don't know. Tell me about the CJ. I didn't even think about that. Okay. Uh, and then at the end, you want to get their wish list. Try to figure out what's their budget. Do they need single pilot operations? If it's kind of the planes that I deal with, what kind of avionics do they want? Airframe time? Because sometimes they'll be like, just send me what you got. I never do that. Okay. If someone says to me, just send me what you got. No. We're gonna have a conversation about a wish list because I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. Tell me what your wish list is. So I figure out what their budget is, what avionics they need, what airframe time they need, what engine programs they need, any modifications that they might want. Okay. Once I have that information, now I can do a valid demo. Okay. Usually by this time, I may have given a brief overview about the aircraft, but if I got the time, I really want to use this features, advantage, benefits framework for the demo because now I'm going to take everything that they want in the jet. I'm going to connect it to a feature, tell them why this feature is unique with the advantage of it and how it's going to benefit them. So for example, upgraded avionics. If someone told me that they're a pilot themselves, hey, this one actually has the upgraded avionics. The majority of the fleet are still using steam gauges. Okay. And any other citation on the market with these upgrades is going to be a lot more expensive than what we're asking. The benefits to you is you're going to have a better flight, more situational awareness at a better price than any other one on the market. So take the feature, the advantage of it, what makes it different than anything else on the market, and how it benefits the guy. Same thing. It's got great engine time. This aircraft is enlisted in an engine extension program. That means you don't have to touch the engine for another 4,000 hours or whatever it might be. Features, reduced price. There's nothing else in this price point on the market. Anything cheaper doesn't have the avionics or the engines. Anything else is more expensive. So the feature is a reduced price. Why is this different? Because anything else is not going to have the good engines or avionics around. The benefit to you is you get the best price for what the bird is. And then once I deliver that, I go for the close. On a scale from 10, well, okay, so you can do that. Yep. On a scale of 1 to 10, meaning one should mean I should have hung up on myself, and a 10 being you ready to make an offer. Where'd you put yourself on this jet? And see where they're at. Listen, and then schedule a follow-up. I'm going to send you the following information. Is there anything else that I can send your way? I'm going to send a spec sheet, photos, maintenance report, acquisition proposal, market report, links to the AvBuyer articles, links to YouTube videos, all the stuff I can send. I'm going to ask, what do you want? What's the most value for you? Get the best contact information, set up a date to follow up, confirm other than yourself who else is going to be involved making the decision. Do you want me to add them on the email? Get off the phone. Great. Looking forward to reconnecting with you. That's it. It's really simple. Now, I want to show you. So that's kind of a 10x Cardone kind of vibe. I want to show you another way to handle this. And it primarily has to do with the fact finding. So again, part of handling, qualifying buyers is the fact finding. You need to know more about the buyers because you need to have a relationship with them in order for a transaction to happen. So here's a few more, and this is inspired by Jeremy Miner's NEPQ sales training. When he's going through the fact finding, he goes through connecting. What's their current situation? What's the problem that they're working with? What's the consequence if they don't make a decision? What are some more qualifying questions to make sure there's urgency? And then how do you transition into the demo? And then what are a few commitment questions? So let's take a look at these connecting questions. So, hey, John, just curious, what was it about 501 Sierra Victor that caught your attention? Okay. What else? What was it about my listing that caught your attention? What are you currently flying in? How are you traveling? I think we kind of talked about this. Have you chartered before? Have you flown before? What do you wish that you could change about your current situation? What are you flying now? Oh, we got a 172. Great. What, you're looking at a 501. What is it that you're trying to change exactly? Where are you going? How many people? How big of a cabin? How many stops? Talk about that. Um, this is kind of similar. Again, a tone is important here, but hey, would you be open to sharing me some of the challenges that you're having right now when it comes to finding a jet? Or Bob, how long has it been? How long have you been looking for a jet? Oh, about 6 months. Oh, gotcha, gotcha. What what are some of the challenges that you're finding in the current market? How long has this been a problem? What's causing this problem? Tell me more. Best 3 words. Tell me more. Okay, just get and write these down. You'll notice I'm in Notion. Okay, this is a an example of a buyer. Okay, and I get all their information, and I have this template here, so I remember to ask these questions. Okay, um, okay, asking for the challenge. If chartering already, hey, what were your expectations when you signed up and bought into the charter aircraft? Where's it falling short? What do you like about your current travel? What don't you like about your current travel situation? Now, if they say everything's going great, another thing you can do is you can, hey, listen, sounds like things are going fairly well for you. Is there anything that you would change about your travel if you could? And then why? Why is that important? Okay. And we'll have all these. This is as a resource in the Circle community. So if you haven't, checked out the Circle community, definitely check that out. Let's take a second and just kind of find a little bit more about why, if you're an aspiring jet broker, why you should be a part of the Circle community. It's 100% free. It's a free course there that you can actually learn how to be a jet broker with no experience necessary. Let's check that out real quick.
Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, go to circle.jetlifearrow.com and check out our online community for aspiring brokers and current brokers. Here you'll find discussions, all thing aviations based, things that you're going to want to know as an aircraft broker. You can also check out our free training as well as more resources that are available to help you to become a better jet broker. That's circle.jetlifearrow.com to begin your journey within the broker community absolutely free.
All right, let's go over the consequence questions. What happens if they don't make a decision? Hey, just out of curiosity, like I know it's been 6 months. What happens if you don't make any changes and your situation gets worse? You mentioned, you're sick and tired of the charter world, where you're not sure if you're actually going to get a flight, especially during the busy times, the holidays. What happens if you don't change? Or what if buying this jet doesn't get you the results that you thought it would? So so many times we're so like, oh, we solve your problem, just buy a jet. Well, what happens if you buy it and it doesn't work out? And they tell you like, well, I can't do that. I can't make a mistake here. Well, now you're going to be up against the wall to figure out a way to make this make as much sense as possible. Or if the guy's like, oh, that's no big deal, I'll just go ahead and sell it. Okay, now we have a little bit more leeway, but looking into the future to see what happens if things go wrong, that takes confidence. That builds your credibility in the eyes of the buyer because now you're like, okay, this guy's looking ahead. What if something goes wrong? They'll appreciate that you come across as a professional. You want to be the trusted authority. I say this all the time. We're not trusted advisors. We're the trusted authority because if something's going to go south, we want to be ahead of it. What if blank? What are you going to do if nothing changes? If you keep doing the same thing for the next 5, 10 years, oh, I can't do that. I can't charter for another 10 years. I got to get this done this year. Great. Now you know where this guy stands. Qualifying questions. So Bob, like I'm just asking, like, how important is this to you? On a scale from 1 to 10. That's a 2. Okay, great. They're not super. Okay. Why now? How do you see this being beneficial to you? I kind of asked that question earlier. So you can see how it's very similar questions that we're going to ask. They're just kind of different framework with NBQ. How do we transition? Well, hey, based on what you're telling me, I think this jet might actually work really well for you because you know how you said, you're looking for something that's pretty cost effective that you don't have to do much work to, or you know how you said you were looking for a project because you know you can get at a good price and you have some good resources. Um, and you mentioned that you've been looking for 6 months and it's kind of making you feel uneasy, like you're never going to find a jet. Well, this jet actually is a great buy based on where the price and where the engines are at. It's priced really competitive for that. Does that feel as though it might be worth looking into a little bit more? And then if that's the case, then you can go into your demo. Do you think this could be the answer for you? Why? You know, it looks like we covered what you're looking for. Really, the next step is to make sure we make an offer. Depending on how much you want to pay, what type of pre-buy you want to do in your schedule. At that point, I can type offer and present it to the owner. Would that be appropriate? How would you like to proceed from here? So, with this, what this calls to our attention is that we present the aircraft after we find out about them and ask them if it makes sense to continue to move forward or find out more information. And what I like about what this points out is that the offer is not just going to be the price that people offer to pay. It's going to be how easy does he make it for the seller to sell the airplane? And that's the pre-buy. Is he going to make it really easy for the seller? Because you're just going to show up, do a test flight, kick the tires one day, and yes or no, off you go. Or are you going to drag this thing through an entire phase 1 through 5 inspection at Textron that's going to cost $30,000 to the seller, and he's going to have to fix stuff. Then your offer is going to have to be a little bit different. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to go over, how do we engage buyers? And I guess the last thing I would say is, how do you make an offer? And so let me see if I can pull this up here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, and so this is an example of what we use. Boom, boom, boom. These are the pieces of information you're going to want for an aircraft purchase agreement or a letter of intent. You need to know the buyer's individual name. You need to know their email address, their company name, their company address, the city. And again, if you're someone you're talking to people and they're like, I want to buy a Gulfstream G500, get this information before you start calling brokers and saying, I got a guy. Because if you don't have this information, we're not taking you seriously. Okay. But if you're a broker and you're talking to people, these are the information we need to write up an offer. So who they are, registration, serial, offer, purchase price. What's the deposit amount? The deposit could be 10%, could be 20%, could be 5%. It's whatever shows the person that they're serious. Usually it might cover, relocation costs if something goes south, or pre-buy costs. So, $1 million jet, I've seen $25,000 deposits. I've seen $5,000 deposits. I've seen $100,000 deposits. It really just kind of depends. But the bigger the amount, the more serious you're taking, obviously. Who's the escrow company? Okay. If you don't have an escrow company, just ask the broker who they work with. What do you want to do in the pre-buy? These are the 4 basic things. Usually it's a logbook review, borescope the engines if able, visual inspection, and a test flight. Now, if you want additional things, you can put it down here. If you want a full phase 1 through 5 inspection, a Doc 10 inspection, whatever, you can add on to that. A prism inspection, okay, corrosion check, avionics check. If you want to add all that stuff, that's fine. But these are your basics, okay? Where's the survey going to take place? Is it going to be at the aircraft's location? Is it going to be at the buyer location, or is it going to be somewhere else? Okay, you got to figure that out. Where do you want to take this thing? When you're making an offer, your broker or you should be able to tell the seller, hey, I'm going to do the pre-buy at the seller's location, or I'm going to take it somewhere else. That's going to impact whether or not the seller wants to do the deal. Survey results. So after you do the survey, are you expecting the seller to fix airworthiness items? Are you expecting them to fix everything? Are you expecting them to not fix anything? It's an as is, where is, with all faults deal. That makes it a lot easier for them. That you can probably get a better price point, but you need to know how you want this deal to go before you start making offers. International registry, that if there's a bank involved, they'll probably want the international registry as a part of it. If not, no worries. And then any other offer notes. So I'll just kind of end there, for you guys. Like, just that's the information that we're going to need to make an offer. So this is how you handle the buyers. This is from picking up the phone from the very first time all the way through to making an offer. And of course, we'll have more videos of how to negotiate the deals, how to get it through escrow, and the like. But for right now, I hope that's helpful. Don't forget to click the like and the subscribe button, and we'll see you next week.